Of an Ashanti king. There's a proverb in Ashanti language that translates, when one father dies, another father lives. Like all kingdoms around the world, there's a transition plan. There's a succession plan that transition power from one person to another. There are not a lot of monarchy in the Western world, and even the ones in Europe that we know of have very similar, if not the same, system. What I'm about to share with you today is a very different from an African tribe perspective. The process of installment of an Ashanti king involves three processes. One, the nomination by the Queen Mother. Two, the approval of the Kumasi Traditional Council. And three, the placement of the subject on the golden stool. As an Ashanti who lived in the heart of Kumasi, which is the capital of the Ashanti region, and witnessed the installment of Emperor Osei Tutu II in 1999, who, by the way, is still at the helms of affairs till today. Also, my paternal grandpa used to work at the palace, and hence he told me a lot of stories about the customs of the kingdom. I took my information basically from two websites. One is from Breathwell, which has a lot of articles about secession, and two from Ghana Web, which has a lot of articles and scholarly articles for that matter for the different tribes of Ghana. So, the Ashanti Empire was founded in 1670, with their capital Kumasi founded a decade later. Before the capital was chosen, two cities were in the running, but to ultimately settle on one, the chief priest advised the kingdom, who at that time was led by Emperor Osei Tutu I, to plant two trees in each city. One of the trees survived in one city and the other did not. So the city that had a survived tree was eventually called Kumasi. By Ashanti tradition, the Queen Mother has the sole right to nominate a successor when a king dies. And once the nomination is done, the Kumasi Traditional Council has the right to either accept or reject the nomination. The Kumasi Traditional Council is made up of 11 out of the 30 paramount chiefs of the kingdom. The Queen Mother has three chances to nominate a person. If the Kumasi Traditional Council rejects all three, then the Queen Mother forfeits her right for the nomination. But throughout the annals of Ashanti history, none has ever been rejected because of the background that goes on. Also, it's because of the Ashanti. Also, it's because the Ashanti kingship is attributed to only one clan out of the 8 clans of the kingdom, and hence a prospective candidate is basically groomed to take up that mantle, and hence a flawless background. So once the nomination has been approved by the council, certain traditional rites need to be performed to legitimize it. The Ashanti king rules from the Menchia Palace, but almost all the rites are done outside the palace. It actually starts at Pampaso. So Pampaso is not very far from Menchia, and the king-elect pays a customary visit to the Pampaso queen through the chief linguist. So the chief linguist sends some items which includes a ram, a bag of salt, and our famous kente cloth, which you can find on the screen. So once the king-elect gets to Pampaso, he doesn't immediately enter the house, but he has to lean against a spear which sits in front of the house 3 times with his back. Once he enters the house, a libation is performed using a palm wine. A palm wine is actually a wine from a palm nut tree. So The king is carried to Pampaso in a palanquin, and from the survey that I posted online, a lot of people didn't know about a palanquin. So I'll just go ahead and explain. A palanquin. So is a palanquin is a covered litter for one person, consisting of a large box carried by 4 to 6 people. And from the PowerPoint, you can see that the king is actually sitting in a palanquin. So once the libation is poured or once the libation is performed, he's taken into a room called the stool room or the stool house. Each of them is right. So once he's in the stool house, they invite the Queen of Pampaso, and upon her arrival, she ties the king elect to her back using a silk cummerbund. So through the chief linguist, the Queen of Pampaso or the Pampaso Queen has to be begged to release the award on behalf of the Mampong King, but she refuses initially. But through persuasion and some gifts, she eventually releases the king elect. So the Mampong King by transition acts as the interim Ashanti King whenever the substantive one dies. So once the king elect is released, he's taken into another room again. And whilst he sits over there, one of the paramount chiefs storms or is ushered into the room. Once he gets to the room, he hands over to the king elect a sword called Busumbro, which is the most powerful sword in the Ashanti kingdom. He also hands him over a hat which is made of crocodile. So once all these are handed to him, the king is taken from Pampaso to Bamplanta, which is another town, through a palanquin. While sitting in the palanquin, he is given a sword and a shield. It signifies that he can lead the Ashanti forces during the battle. So once he gets to Bamplanta, he exchanges gunshots in the air with some of the paramount chiefs of the Ashanti kingdom. So after the gunshot have been exchanged, he's taken to a room and be prepared for installment at midnight. So at midnight, all the paramount chiefs actually gathered Bampanasi. By this time, the chief stool carrier had brought the stool or the golden stool for that matter from Ensha Palace to Bampanasi. So upon arrival, he informed the king elect about the ceremony to adore the golden stool. The king elect then informs the Mampong King about the ceremony, who in turn vacates his position as the interim Ashanti King and grab the right hand of the king elect. Some of the paramount chiefs also grab the left hand, the waist, the right and the left leg of the king and place him 3 times on the golden stool in the presence of the other paramount chiefs, the Queen Mother, and some members of the royal family. The other queens sing in jubilation while the enstalled king is carried in his palanquin and sent to another room. The jubilation and merrymaking continue. The following morning, all the chiefs in the kingdom come and pay their respect to the enstalled king, with thanksgiving present in the form of money and a ram and 4 sheep is given to the Mampong King. Such items are also given to the other paramount chiefs. And yes, so with the king's permission, they all depart to their various towns after the king has announced the date for the great funeral in honor of the departed king. The king continues to receive dignitaries such as presidents and ambassadors from different countries, such as the president of Ghana, which you can see on the screen, and the ambassador for the United States, which you can also see on the screen. I believe that you've learned something about how succession is done from an African tribe perspective. The instrument of an Ashanti king involves the nomination by the Queen Mother, the approval of the Kumasi Traditional Council, and the physical placement of the king-elect on the golden stool. I'll end by saying, or by quoting an Ashanti proverb which states, "We teach culture, but we don't destroy it." Thank you.